Today's quick chat is with Carter Cross, the Director of Ministry Services at Cokesbury United Methodist Church, one of the largest UMCs in the country. Cokesbury was better equipped than most churches for the doors to public worship to close because they have been streaming worship and using video online for many years. But they were still challenged as a large congregation to make sure they were connecting with and checking on their people. In today's conversation, Carter will share how they leveraged the tools already in their toolbox as the doors of the church closed for the foreseeable future. One of the things that, Cokesbury, we as a church have been streaming our worship services for almost 8 years now. We were early adopters in that, and we do a great job. So when the shutdown happened, it wasn't a huge deal for us because we already had an online presence for worship going. But then that also creates different challenges for churches to address as we went into a period where we can't, connect in person or physically with our congregation. So speak to some of the things that you guys have done, particularly with your database system, and how you're using it to its fullest potential as a part of the church's response to the COVID shutdown.
Yeah, Mark, you're absolutely right. It became really clear to us, within a few hours of kind of getting that word that we were going to be online only for the foreseeable future. It became really clear that one of our main objectives that we were going to have to focus on and be really systematic about was staying connected with folks. And thankfully, we did have that church management system in place. And so within a couple hours, our outreach folks, actually, who are rock stars, kind of came out and said, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making sure that we connect with everybody that we're engaged in ministry with. And we're going to be tracking those in Touchpoint, which is our system that we use. And so this piece of Touchpoint and tracking contacts was a feature we were aware of and we were familiar with it, but we hadn't really used it. And overnight, it became really important to us because we're not a small place. And so having a system is really important for us because even if you're trying to contact or connect with 100 folks, my guess is that most staff, most volunteers that are doing that connecting would be thinking of the same 20 people left to their own devices, right? We're always going to think of those people who are most connected, who always stop and say hi, and suddenly 80% of your people would just slip through the cracks. And so we were able to build some searches that really brought to the forefront who needed to be connected with each day or each round of contact. And we were able to tailor those to each ministry area. And so for our children's staff, hey, here's the 30 people you should be trying to reach in the next week or two, and so on and so forth. And so suddenly we were able to have a system, and because all of those things live update, each staff member could look and see who's been contacted and who hasn't. And those searches update based on, if children's ministry contacts this family, then student ministry doesn't necessarily have to today. And it made it really simple for us and really systematic to connect with everybody and not be duplicating effort.
So Carter, you could also note not only phone calls, but I'm sure does the system capture email touches, other touch points?
Absolutely. Yeah, a little plug there.
Sorry.
So that was a fun little aspect of it is, immediately kind of the aspects we had built into it were emails, cards, letters, that kind of thing. And suddenly we were looking to log things like video calls and stuff like that we hadn't been logging before because we weren't all video calling 2 months ago. But we were able to add that in real quick, and all of our folks are logging all those cards they send, all those phone calls they make, and making notes if there's notes that need to be made on those.
Fantastic. So that way, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing, and nobody falls through the cracks. I love
exactly.
That. So what are some other things?
Helps us.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It just helps us work together as a team that way and facilitates communication.
So what are some other ways that you guys have created connecting points for an online environment, an online only environment?
Yeah, so aside from logging contacts, one of the other big wins for us is finally building out that online campus experience and taking more seriously the process of meeting people online and then helping them take next steps. Because, like you said, we've been streaming worship for a long time. And I think initially it started out as sort of, hey, if you're out of town or if you're on vacation, here's a way for you to not miss what we did in the room. But obviously it's grown over the past few years, and especially in the past couple months, to this is the experience, and this is where you're going to connect, and this is where it's all going to start. And so we have to take seriously that discipleship process. And so having systems in place like worship connection forms, prayer requests with really good follow-up from our Next Steps team, having the opportunity to volunteer and learn more about taking next steps with us has been huge. Our team is hosting an online Next Steps class this week, which is really cool for folks who want to go deeper with Cokesbury or deeper in their faith. And there's a ton of great stories from this season. One of my favorites so far is we've got a great family who comes to Cokesbury, and suddenly over the past couple months, it's gotten really easy to invite people to church, right? Because you don't have to even walk through the doors. You can just join us online, and that's normal. That's kind of what's expected. And so this family reached out to their friend who's living in the Dominican Republic, and I don't know if their friend was ever going to darken the door of their church. I'm pretty sure they weren't going to darken the door of Cokesbury here in Knoxville. And so suddenly they're able to join us online, and they start worshiping with us, and they started getting connected. And now they've volunteered as a greeter in our online chat. And so we've seen this person who we probably never would have met make a connection, get involved, and start volunteering all in an online space because we have those systems in place.
That is a great story. And I'm sure there's now a lottery among the pastors to see who's going to be able to go down and do pastoral care with this family in the Dominican Republic after the fog lifts. So,
for sure.
So Carter, what I hear you saying is what Cokesbury's done as a church is just leverage the tools that already existed to continue to connect with people, and didn't have to really reinvent the wheel, but maybe created a couple of new processes, a couple of new flows, but using tools that already existed. And I think that's important, because I think most churches underutilize their church management systems.
Yeah, and that's true for us, certainly. I think this time has brought to light some of the things we should have been doing, and now we are. And it's been pretty cool to see these wins and to use this time to build systems that I think are going to help us serve our community and, reach people in an even more robust way going forward for years, probably.
I want to thank Carter for sharing how Cokesbury, a large church, is using their tools to try to make sure they are connecting with all their people. We want to share your ideas or address your questions about how we can connect with people in our digital culture, to share the gospel and to baptize and grow disciples of Jesus Christ. Please feel free to email me at mark@churchcmo.com with your questions, ideas, or insights. We at Church CMO believe that the local church is the catalyst for change in their community, and that you can change the world connecting with one person at a time. Let us know how we can help.